Hi everybody, Julie from the Repro 360 team at Vetaquinol. So we're here today to talk all things progesterone devices and synchronisation programs. Probably some of the biggest key things that we get asked around is, are all devices created equal? Is there a significant difference between the devices on the market in Australia? Why does it matter if we have enough progesterone? And what is the right dose of progesterone required? So that is going to differ from herd to herd, from mob to mob. And we know that there is some significant differences between the three devices in Australia, from the dose that they provide to also the mechanism in which they work. The significance of progesterone in a synchronisation program is that by inserting a device at the beginning of your program, you inflate the blood progesterone levels of that cow that you're synchronising. Across the mob, that then starts to actually get all of those cows, regardless of where they are naturally in their cycle, in step with one another, with the aim to synchronise ovulation. When we get to the end of our synchronisation program, whether that be 6 to 8 days, depending on what protocol you're using, it's actually the removal of that progesterone device and the significant drop at that point in time that signifies the rest of the hormones to start to surge and bring those cows all to ovulate at the same time. So it's extremely important to make sure that the device that we are using still has progesterone being delivered at the rates that we need right up until the time that we pull that device. So when it comes to actually choosing how much progesterone you need and which device should fit the program that you're about to run, I think it's really important to remember that there's a few key things. You need to have enough progesterone on your side. If your device runs out of progesterone too early in your synchronisation program, that could severely impact when those cows come into season, but more so when those cows ovulate. If you have a program for 100 head booked, as an example, and those cows start coming on, we hear stories of cows coming on before the devices are even removed when using a low dose device. That can significantly impact when those cows ovulate. And if your vet is booked and can only come on a set day, you now have a big potential of a huge waste of semen and financial losses by those cows not getting pregnant due to cycling and ovulating too early. It is really important that when you remove that progesterone device, regardless of which one you choose, that device is still delivering progesterone on removal. So in Australia, we have 3 progesterone devices on the market. We have a Qmate device, we have a CEDA device, and we have a DIB-H or a DIB-V. When we have a look at the size of these 3 devices, which is probably the biggest myth floating around and the biggest talking point, if we have a look at a DIB versus a CEDA first and foremost, if we compare the size of the 2 devices, you'll see when we line up the CEDA and the DIB device that there is a significant difference in width between the DIB and the CEDA at the front. If we then take the smaller CEDA device and compare it in size to the Qmate, lining them up again, what we find is you will see, again, there's a significant drop in width again, as well as length when it comes to a Qmate versus a CEDA. So if we're talking around size and cow comfort, then as you can see, the Qmate device is by far the smallest. The other significant part with the pods is, as I said, a wishbone is the smallest, but the other thing that adds to the cow comfort is the fact that the pods that are on the end of the wishbones, these are the parts that contain the progesterone, or not if they're a blank, are nice and soft and squishy. As you can see, they're full silicone, they're completely squished down, and those gills that add to the cow comfort make them nice and soft and mould once inside the female, rather than having something really hard and rigid and a lot wider that's going to be protruding into the walls. That's been shown in a study that looked at cow comfort, and they were rating a Qmate in comparison to the other devices. 95% of the farmers in that trial found that Qmates were superior when it came to cow comfort. It is important that we are considering the cow comfort and ask any female if they were thinking about which would be more comfortable from a female perspective. I think by far the smaller, softer device of the Qmate would be one that we would think we would like to choose for our cows when considering the comfort factor. So when it comes to choosing the right level of progesterone for the animals within your mob, there's some really important facts that we need to consider. If we have a look at the difference in progesterone between the devices, we've got a 0.5 device right through to a 1.9 device. So that's our lowest dose device in a DIB-H through to a CEDAR that's 1.9 grams. Now, it is just as important to have enough progesterone as having too much. So we know that in some heifers, so Brahman heifers for example, using a full strength device that's got 1.9 grams of progesterone can sometimes be a little bit too much for those heifers, and they may not come on as quickly as we'd like. But on the flip side, we have as big a risk if we don't have enough progesterone. The other difference is both of these are a moulded silicone device, so one solid device designed to be used once and thrown away. Neither of these devices have a reuse claim. That differs again with Accumate that has the interchangeable pods. So not only does that allow you to tailor it back to a low dose device or use a ready to use device straight to go into your cows to ensure that you have enough progesterone on your side that those cows hold for the full 8 days of your standard program. What it also allows you to do is just to replace the pods. So the pods mean that you can, each year on and year out, you can wash and reuse your wishbone and simply replace the pods with a new unused pod that is sold in packs of 40. So a really simple way and a very environmentally friendly way to continue to use the wishbone, but still optimise the amount of progesterone that you're delivering to the cows within your AI or ET mobs. When we have a look at a CEDAR device, it's quite often used, and we hear in the market that a CEDAR is used as reused off-label. The big risk that you have with that is, one, how much progesterone is left in that device after it's been through a cow already. Cows will metabolize different amounts of progesterone, and therefore you actually don't know how much is left in the device when you go to put it back in. The other risk you have is if you're using a CEDAR on reuse, has it been on somebody else's farm? Has your technician bought it to synchronise your females and he has put it through a different herd? Has he sterilised it correctly? How much progesterone's left? And is there going to be any risk of disease transmission should he use that CEDAR on your farm? So when it comes down to the question, are all devices created equal? The simple answer is no. Whilst it might seem more cost effective to wash and reuse a device off label, or use the cheapest device that is available on the market, that cost saving is soon down the drain once you lose pregnancy rates due to those cows not synchronising effectively. Not only are you losing pregnancy rates, you're losing semen that you may not be able to replace or embryos.